You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. I guess we are live on the Pan-African Daily, and I hope everyone can hear us. And we have our queen, Mafo, who is in the house tonight, Dr. Elaine Ferguson, Mama, aka Mafo. So Mafo is the title which we are going to bless our queen tonight with. I want to thank all of you that are connecting. There's been some, I don't know, some interruptions. I don't know whether from our side or from your side. Dr. Elaine, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, my sister. Such a pleasure to see you and to be on this wonderful, dynamic, and beautiful African network. So thank you. It's always my honor to see your beautiful face and to connect with our family again on the other side of the pond.
Thank you so very much. I mean, we are in a very critical moment right now, and that's why the topic for today is a very relevant one. Africans have actually been dealing with this, what we call seizures, like psychological trauma and depression ever since this outbreak of the Russian-Ukraine crisis. I mean, this is not the first time that things happen like that. It all started from the beginning with the George Floyd, with all the other images that we keep, downloading into our minds when we see Africans. Either they are drowning at sea, trying to cross to Libya, or they are on the streets, they are left on their own, or they are murdered. I mean, sin upon sin upon sin. Just last week, we saw a very horrible video of a Nigerian that just committed suicide at the airport in UK because he was refusing to be deported back to his home country for whatever reasons we don't know. And we keep seeing all these images, how Africans are being marginalized, discriminated in this Ukraine-Russian challenges or war. And we know it is not something that it is a coincidence. It's a repeatedly, even from the past. And so you are the real healer, as I can say, a spiritual healer that inspires and motivates your people through, your alternative healthcare solutions for Africans worldwide, and not just only for Africans, but of course for humanity in this context. But we are focusing on this particular target and our race that is totally in a depressive state, not only going through the dilemma of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the lockdown and the consequences of that for us as melanated people that are not used to this kind of a secluded life. We are people to people, families to family, always depend on each another for our existence. And so when we see all these kind of traumatic things that have been going on, I can really agree with you that, or you would agree with us today, that the lectures that you're about to give us tonight is a very essence of important to our healthcare, how we can get out of this kind of, trauma and depression and this kind of negative images that keep actually downloading our systems to put us on a negative point of view. So I'm really thankful that you're here to lecture to us and give us solutions, long-lasting solutions, because these solutions we need it right now. Our homes are breaking, our families are breaking apart, people are so depressed. we actually don't know. The grounds is really like shaking, and the target is us Africans because we're not used to this kind of systems. I looked at the statistics before we openly go on into the conversation. Just during this period of COVID from 2020 to 2021, we have seen 63% of families have broken apart, fell apart. We have seen also 12% in the depression scale, you know, and as compared to the previous years. And the lockdown has actually caused plus 30%, particularly in the diaspora. They're the ones that are really affected. And mostly these are families, these are also elders, but also young people are getting into a new lifestyle. And all this, attitude and lifestyle, we begin to allocate them to the trauma, the depression, the challenges that we're all going through. So we are here to look for solutions. It's not about what happened, but why did it happen and how we can go ahead. So I want to thank all of you that are joining on these lectures today. If it's your first time, please make sure you click the subscribe button. As we go into these lectures, there's not going to be any break in between, but I might come on time to time to remind you that we just started our subscribers campaign again today after hitting 54 YouTube subscribers, which is very less as compared to plus 100 million watch hours that we have on YouTube. So please join this campaign and make sure that you are a part of it. So I'll go back to the studio to greet Mafo, Dr. Elaine Ferguson, who is our expert on healthcare and particularly mental health for the Africans worldwide. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello, my dear sisters. Such a pleasure to see your beautiful space and magnificent spirit, Queen Warrior spirit again. And hello to the family, to my family on the other side of the continent and world. It's a pleasure and my honor.
Beautiful. When we go into the subject matter, I mean, you talked about something like the effects and the impact of what we are going through in this period. So I would just leave you, to carry on with your lectures and let us learn something that could be. Yes.
Can I share the screen? Let me see.
Oh yeah.
How I see the share button, so let me do that, and we'll begin in just a moment. Okay. It even has share slides, so that makes it. Oh, okay. It's from my computer. I'm going to have to upload a file. I am so sorry, but I will talk as I do.
It's okay. We are waiting. Just try to figure that out while I welcome my family here. This is a special Pan-African Daily TV family reunion, global family reunion. And this title was given to us yesterday by our queens on the show, who said, we are not just Africans for Africans worldwide, but the Pan-African Daily TV is a global family reunion platform where we are connecting ourselves again. And it's not a coincidence that we are actually just looking, in this colorful attires tonight. The black and red and gold combinations is actually the new spark of the I drink my water and mind my African business attire. And it's a slogan that we're going to, carry on the 12-12 alarm for Africans worldwide to activate ourselves. So, Dr. Elaine, if you're already, just let us know.
Well, it's loading,
is it okay?
But it's not working. It's doing it very slowly. So what I can do, sister, is I can just say the words without the slides. Unfortunately, and I'll set up something so people can see the slides as well, because it's the words and the information that's the most important aspect. But it's working very slowly, I guess, because we're international. So unfortunately.
Oh yes, of course.
Technology.
No problem, but I mean, just allow it to be loading.
Yes,
but we will have to digest it. We have a 1.5 hour conversation, so we have time.
Okay, so again, it's such a pleasure to be able to share this important information with my sisters and brothers today. I wanted to, when Sister Susan invited me to attend again, to share something with you that I feel is relevant and important. And as she so beautifully explained what's going on with us globally and what's happened to not only us as African people, but to our human family, that we have experienced, of course, the greater and the more intense aspects of the last 2 years. I always like to put what I share in context, because it's important for us to remember not only that which we are experiencing, but the context of our, and the totality of our experiences as human beings, as African people in particular, in this diaspora, as well as on the continent, on the motherland, in the context of our existence. And we come from Mother Africa, the first human beings to experience, or what I like to consider, we are divine beings having a human experience. And that's what our ancestors knew from the time they were aware of themselves as divine beings, long before Kemet, long before the glorious civilizations that they developed occurred. This is something that we hold as African people. So I like to put that understanding and that history and that awareness in the context of our experiences, because it gives us strength to know that we come from a lineage of survivors. We come from a lineage of genius, of spectacular understanding and intelligence, of unspeakable strength and endurance and survival through the most horrific, recently horrific experiences that's ever been visited upon divine beings having a human experience, as well as the long arc of our being here on this earth. So I want you to put your life in that context, because I know it gives us strength. I know it will give you a greater sense of who and what you are, knowing that whatever you have faced and whatever you're facing, you will and you can overcome it, because that's the capacity that we have as African people, as divine beings having a human experience. So in the consideration of what's going on with us right now, or what's happened, especially during these last 2 years with COVID, yes, it has been a very difficult and a very challenging time. And yes, what I know to be true is that for each challenge that we have, the divine, the great spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever you wish to call that which created us, the Creator has given us all of the resources within us to not only survive, but to thrive. And my work over the last couple of years, in particular, beyond the holistic health and healing work that I have done over the course of my career over 30 years, has been to help our people around the world heal the wounds of racism, because they are so devastating and have such a great impact on our health and well-being. And Dr. Susan, the good news is I see that our the slides did load, so I'm going to begin. Can you see them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to have to skip forward. I can't see them as well as I'd like to see them, unfortunately, with this, the way the technology is. So I'm just going to continue. I'm going to continue as I was doing it before, because I can't really read it. It's a very small window. Okay, so let me get back to where I was.
Thank you.
One of the most important.
Can you see it now?
Oh, yes, I can see it now. Thank you. Okay, let me go back to it. So this is a good question. What role does the mind play in our health and disease? I hadn't planned to talk about this, but I will briefly. Most of us don't realize the critical and important role that our mind plays in our health and well-being, because we live in a Western system and a paradigm that encourages us to believe that we're physical bodies, we're machines operating, and we have no control. Our emotions have nothing to do with our health and well-being. But we know our ancestors and we know this within ourselves, have always recognized that we are not just a physical being, that we are divine beings having a human experience, and our minds, our thoughts, our feelings, emotions, and our perceptions play a tremendous role, a critical role in our health and well-being, which is one of the reasons why racism impacts us so significantly, because we internalize our experiences and we feel helpless and hopeless. We feel we have no choice but to succumb, but to grin and bear it in silence, because our experiences are unique. They are not. We all share the same experiences. We have not realized that we have the resources within us to not only overcome, but to transcend and transform ourselves in the way that we approach and move in this world in a way that protects, heals, and shields us from the harm that we experience. So I'm going to move forward quickly, because this is what I want to share with you today, as to how to protect your mind, your body, and your spirit from ongoing media exposure and harm. William James, who was a Harvard University, and Harvard University in the United States is the most prestigious university in our country. Back at the turn of the 20th century, in the late 1800s, he was one of the founding fathers of the field of psychology, who was very much involved in the world of metaphysics and what we now call New Thought. And he said quite succinctly and profoundly, the greatest weapon against our ability against stress is our ability to choose one thought over the other. The challenge for us is in our moments of stress, we don't realize that. Brother Stephen Biko goes on to say that the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the minds of those whom they oppress. And this is a program in the United States called 60 Minutes. That is a news program. And last spring, in April 2021, they did a very important interview with a leading scholar, Dr. David Williams, who's an Afro-Caribbean brother and professor at Harvard University currently, who's done a lot of research on the impact that racism has on our health and well-being. And he says, and these are based on statistics in the United States, and I'm sure it's true across the globe. I've looked at some of the research in the UK, and I haven't found similar studies, but there are studies that have reviewed the impact of racism in the UK as well as other parts of the world. We are dying prematurely around the world. I'm sure it's not just the United States, because of our exposures, the chronic stress that we are exposed to on a daily basis. And in the United States, with 35 to 40 million African Americans, every day 200 of us die prematurely due to racism. That's 1,400 extra deaths a week, 6,000 to 6,200 premature deaths a month, and over 73,000 excess deaths or unnecessary premature deaths each and every year. These are the American government statistics. And I want to tell you, and this is what I share with my family and my friends over here, when we are focusing on the tragic murders that have captured the media attention, understandably, the bigger picture, the greater harm that happens to us regarding our health and our racism, as well as our interactions with our healthcare system. This is the real culprit. This is the real problem that we must address, and we can address it. And unfortunately, I had planned to play this for you, but I can't. This is a part of that interview with Dr. Williams, where he specifically discussed last year the impact that the media, our exposures to the media, has on our health and well-being. I will tell you personally, I have to step away, and that's the best thing we can do. Sometimes we have to understand that we do not have to constantly be exposed to what some people call trauma porn, to this constant drum of assault, of harm to our people in the media. We can have other ways of learning about it without this constant exposure to these images that we absorb. What Dr. William shares in this interview is that two databases were compared. One was the database of police murders of Black men, and the other was a database from the federal government, the American government, that measured the mental health status of all Americans, and there were different populations that were also measured within the context, and they looked at African American mental health. And what was clearly evident in this comparative database, whenever an unarmed Black man was killed, and it was reported in the media, and our people saw these images of the murder, the mental health, the measurable parameters of mental health status among African Americans, as they reported in surveys to the government, declined for 30 days minimally. After their exposure to this harm that was visited upon an innocent person, they found that when a brother was unarmed, that was the key trigger that caused our family members to feel depressed, anxious, etc., and less healthy mentally. When the person was armed, that did not make a difference, because I suppose, from my perspective, that people felt that the person had a fighting chance. But when an innocent person was killed, for example, George Floyd, that had a tremendous impact on our mental health. And I will say that after a few weeks, I had to stop personally watching that repetitive viewing of his murder. I couldn't take it because it was affecting me. And I know it was affecting many of us. So let's move on to the next slide. One of the important healing aspects I want to talk to you about is the notion of resilience. And I always say to people when I'm talking about this, for us as African people, as members of the human family, if you want to talk about resilience and hardiness, especially over these last 5 years, open up a dictionary and our pictures should be there. We are the most resilient portion of the human family known to exist at this time, as far as I'm concerned, because of what we have endured, especially during these last 500 years, not only on the continent, but across the diaspora. We have endured that which is unspeakable. And we have the legacy of survival, of thriving, of overcoming, but we don't realize it. So as I said at the beginning, it is so important to keep our lives in this context because it gives us strength. This particular study about hardiness and looking at people in the workplace setting occurred many years ago, back in the 1970s, at my alma mater, the University of Chicago. And why it came about, to make a very long story short, and why it's appropriate for me to share this information with you, to give you not only in terms of our experience, but another contextual understanding of how important the mindset is. There was a telephone company in the United States. It was the major telephone company, and the government decided that it was too big, and there was a breakup of what's called AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraph. And during this time, it was very stressful, so stressful to the point that executives and managers began having heart attacks. So many heart attacks to the point that they set up a heart attack unit within the corporate facility. And these were all European American, middle-aged men. They made the same amount of money. Yet there was a group within this larger cohort of employees, of these men, that were not having heart attacks. So this scientist, this research psychologist, was asked to look at what made the difference. It clearly wasn't physical parameters, because they were all the same type of group of people. And he found that they had a different way of perceiving life. And they had what he came to call hardiness. They possessed these personality characteristics that made them strong. They saw their challenges they saw their experience as a challenge. They were committed to overcoming their challenge, and they felt in control, not of the situation, but of themselves. And these personality traits protected them from having heart attacks. The same is true of all of us. We just haven't been studied or explored in that same manner. This was considered to be a very significant finding in the world of American psychology. And they went on to conduct other tests, other studies that confirmed this critical personality trait that made a difference, that gives one ease and peace of mind and comfort in the midst of any situation. And we dwell as African people in a world that has dehumanized us, that has taken away any sense of the truth of who and what we are. And unfortunately, because we haven't had access to the information that speaks to the truth, we have succumbed and internalized the damage and the harm of our experiences. And that in and of itself has been our greatest challenge. The experiences, yes, are horrific. They are unwarranted, and they should not be a part of our life experience, but they are. And we have the capacity, when we begin to shift our perspective of our perception of who we are, that we are not victims, that we are the children of those who refuse to succumb, that we are thrivers, and that we are divine beings. It changes everything. And I can say this from my personal experience. I have, as an African American woman, experienced racism all of my life in different and varying ways. And it became more intense as I was going through my education as medical school and during my career. That's been the most intense time of my experiences. And a few years ago, I had a very critical experience that changed my life. And is one of the reasons why I'm here speaking to you today. I have dwelled in the world of holistic medicine all of my career, and I knew and have helped many people, thousands of patients and clients, to apply the principles of holistic health from my understanding of ancient African and Kemetic principles, as well as Ayurveda and others, into their lives to improve their health and well-being, as well as current clinical research. And when this most toxic experience of racism in my workplace visited me, and it was ongoing, it was chronic, it was unrelenting, it lasted for 3 years. But in the midst of one of the most challenging times where I realized I was getting physically ill due to my response, literally the ancestors spoke to me and said, "You know better. We are here with you. You know the truth of who and what you are." And it changed my life. And nothing bothered me in the same way. My health improved. And I began to realize a few months later that what I had experienced in terms of my healing was something that I could share with my people to help them become stronger, to help them in their own unique way overcome this burden and this pain and these health endangering experiences that we can transcend and transform when we shift our mindset. And when we change our perceptions of ourselves into those that are in alignment with the truth of our divine nature, with the truth of what our ancestors taught us, and the truth of what African people know around the world. So that is why I'm sharing this with you today, to specifically look at what we can do. I'm going to move through these quickly because I've basically said all of this, but to deal with this current situation that we're facing with these additional assaults, the additional exposures, and how we come through this experience of COVID-19, not beaten down, but taking into account our experiences and understanding the truth that every adversity that we face is an opportunity to heal and to grow and to transcend. I was just last night, and I thought about this morning as I was preparing. Last night, I watched a program on our public television about butterflies. And they talked about the 5 stages of physical being among the butterflies. And I realized that these 5 stages of their being really speaks to some of the transformational notions that I understand in the pathways of healing, moving from the victim to the victor to the fully endowed divine spiritual beings that we are. And so I want you to just think of this image, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to include it, the image of moving from where you are in your experiences and feeling like a victim of the experiences into one who has transcended. You can even see it as being a butterfly, but one who has the capacity to rise above, to exist within what I call the eye of the storm in peace and calmness and an abiding awareness that you are safe, because that is the truth. The truth is that on a soul level, I'm absolutely not speaking about the physical level, but on the soul level, we are always safe, because nothing can truly harm the essence and the essential nature of who and what we are. Yes, our bodies can be damaged, and yes, our spirits and mind can be assaulted, but the totality and the truth of our experience as divine beings on this earth allows me the privilege to share that information with you, this information with you, that whatever you have faced, you will either here or in the great beyond transcend it. But we can transcend it and transform it now when we make the decision to heal ourselves. Now, I want to speak to you specifically, if I can move forward, about tapping more fully into the truth of who you are, which is what I call a super healing spirit, but a divine being. And because this is who we really are. And this is, of course, a diagram, but we are an infinite being. We have the capacity to awaken our true health potential and to heal any harm that we've ever experienced, both physical, both emotional, and both spiritual. And this is what I share about that truth, that ultimately these are the faculties that we have within us. We are peace, we are love, we are wisdom, we are intelligence, we are power, we are vitality, we are life, we are truly divine harmony expressing. Now, I know that may sound to some of you like a great leap in terms of what you've experienced, especially during these last 2 years. And as Dr. Sister Susan, my Queen Mother, mentioned regarding these experiences that we've seen recently. But this is the truth, and this is what is available to you to help you stop the pain and to help you stop the suffering that you're experiencing. So in terms of practical resources, what I tell everyone, and I think I shared this earlier, stop watching the media, stop the trauma, stop the constant exposure to these horrific pictures. And it doesn't mean you don't have to know. What I do with my friends is I tell them, call me up when you need to tell me something, when something's going on I need to know about, because I'm off the media, I'm not doing it. And they do, and that makes it an easier way. And my phone just went off and I have it on silent. So I guess this is something to acknowledge that it's significant. That always happens when I'm sharing. And I also put my life, as I said earlier, in context. And one of the mantras, one of the statements that I use and that I was given, my sister, Dr. Ancestor Maya Angelou, is, I come as one and I stand as 10,000. Not with, I stand as. And for me, it changes everything in terms of my internal experience of whatever I'm facing. We have these resources. And one of the other things that I do that I've learned, not only for me, gives me great peace, but it helps me to know that I'm doing something. Whenever I hear of these challenges that my family, my sisters and brothers are facing, wherever they are in the world, I will stop and pray for them. I will stop and send them love and peace and light. And I know that that makes a difference, and I know it makes a difference for myself. As recently as Monday, I was on the Hidden Truths platform, on Tuesday, on the Hidden Truths platform in the UK. And Brother Andrew was sharing yet another horrific tragedy that it was visited upon one of our children. A 15-year-old student was strip searched, a young woman who was having her menstrual cycle. It was awful 20 years ago. And I had to step away from it. Sorry, not 20 years ago, 2 years ago. And I had to step away from it. It happened in 2020 because I couldn't bear it. I could feel her pain, but I stepped away. I stopped my exposure, and I prayed for that young woman. And I prayed for her family and those who had been touched by this tragedy and bestial experience. And that's what I do for my sisters and brothers currently trying to leave Ukraine and trying to get home. This is what I know brings me comfort and peace, as well as doing something instead of just dwelling in their suffering. So I could go on and on. I will share with you, these are some of the pictures that I use to remember the truth. This is a picture of sisters in Kenya who are going about their everyday life. Sister Dr. Marimba Ani, who is one of my heroes, she's written magnificent books about our spiritual strength. One of them is called Let the Circle Be Unbroken. And she talks about what gives us strength. And I know our ancestors do. I know, as Brother Malidomo Somé, who is a brother who just made his transition, he's from Burkina Faso, has shared with us in the diaspora, he lived in the United States for many years, that our ancestors are waiting for us to call on them to help us move through these challenging times. I ultimately believe and know in my heart that we will get through this, that we will not only survive, but that we will thrive and become the people that we were intended to be in the fullness of fulfilling our purpose and our mission on this earth and in this realm. I remember this. I use this to, I use this as a reminder. This is a drawing of a slave ship and our ancestors who were on a slave ship. And it took my breath away when I first saw it. And a friend of mine sent it to me, and the message was, "Don't quit." I put my life in the context of their survival. And I shared with Sister Dr. Susan earlier this week a beautiful essay, and I will happily make it available to everyone who's listening. A beautiful essay that my college classmate wrote about her trip and journey to West Africa and her trip across the Atlantic. She decided that she wanted to retrace the steps of our ancestors by taking a ship voyage on her way back on the Black Star Line that was once owned by the country of Ghana and named after the Black Star Line that the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey had created in the early parts of the 20th century. And she said something to me, and I want to share this with you because it speaks to the essence of what I have said in such a most beautiful way. She said that after they left the coast of West Africa and were in the Atlantic, a severe storm came about, and they were stuck in their cabins. She was stuck in her cabin for several days. And after the storm, and she said she was really concerned about whether or not the ship was going to capsize because the storm was so severe. And she said after the storm subsided, she went out on the deck of the ship and was looking at the water, and she had an epiphany, a life-changing epiphany, where she felt the ancestors who had dwelled in the bowels of slave ships and awed and wondered, how did they survive? How did they survive a storm like this in the bowels of a slave ship? Not only how did they survive, she went on to say to me, but how did they get off? How did they arrive on this side of the Atlantic, endowed with the capacity not only to live, but to reproduce, to have children, and to move forward. This is the strength that's within us. And I'll share one final example of that strength with you. And she came to my mind just yesterday, so I know I'm supposed to share this because she just came to my mind yet again. I was a medical student at Duke University, and I was about to graduate. I was ready to go. I was ready to go on and return home and begin my life as a physician. And one of the last clinical rotations that I did was in the intensive care nursery at the hospital. I wanted to become a pediatrician. Back then, in the late 70s, there was not a lot that we could do compared to the technology that's available today to save premature babies. We could do some, but if babies were born extremely prematurely, there wasn't much we could do but just wait for them to die. And there was a little baby, a little baby that was in the unit, and she was, for some reason, one day, and I'm sure now that I think about it, it was a divine request. I asked the resident what was her story. She was about 4 or 5 months old. And I asked the resident, what was her story? Why is she still here? And the resident began to tell me the most remarkable story of survival I have ever heard in my entire career. This baby was born. The mother went into premature labor at 7.5 months. And that's, back then, that was a death sentence. There was nothing that could be given to the mother to stop her labor. So the baby was born, and this is a little Black baby with very few signs of life. She had very weak respirations. She had a very weak heart rate. Her coloring was showing that she wasn't getting enough oxygen. And as I said, she was extremely premature. She weighed less than 2 pounds. And back then, babies that weight did not survive. So the doctor, the delivering obstetrician, looked at her and told the parents, told the mother and the father that she had been born dead. So the babies, this living baby was left in the delivery room alone, gasping for breath, trying to stay alive. And the pathology department was called to pick up her remains. A few hours later, when the attendant went to pick up her remains, she was still breathing. You cannot take a breathing baby to the pathology department for an autopsy. So, and this was in the middle of the night, so the residents working in the nursery were called to come and take a look at her. And they looked at her with the same lack of understanding, I'll put it like that, the same sense that she's too small to survive. That had been their history. That had been our experience. So they took her down to the nursery and didn't do what they should have done. They did not place her on the intensive care that her severe prematurity required. They didn't put her on a respirator. I'm sure you all have heard about respirators with COVID. That's what she needed to give her body enough oxygen. They didn't do that. They should have given her what we call an umbilical line. They didn't do that. They gave her an IV and they put her in a hood of oxygen, which was not really helping her, expecting her to be dead by the morning. She didn't die. That next morning, the attending comes in, calls the intensive care unit attending, the pediatrician came in, and he called his colleague who delivered her. We have a great dilemma here. The parents are mourning her death. She's alive. What do we tell the parents? These two doctors did something I have never seen or heard. I know it happens, but there goes my phone again, so this is another point. But the attending doctors went to the parents and told them, we have good news for you. A miracle has happened. It's a term we don't use. By an act of God, your baby is still alive, but don't get excited. She's too premature to survive. We're going to give her the intensive care that she should have got that night before, but don't get attached to her. You can visit her. Do not expect to take this baby home. We've never had a baby survive. Each and every day, this baby in the beginning was literally a textbook of everything that goes wrong with premature babies. She had every physical challenge thrown at her. She was severely premature. She was barely breathing. Even with the respirator, it was barely working. She had brain hemorrhages. She had a heart defect. She had multiple surgeries because of her premature intestinal tract was having blockages. She had blood infections. She also had jaundice, which is a disease that can cause severe brain damage. She had to have a shunt placed in her head from the brain surgery. And every day I was told the doctors came in expecting to see her bed empty. But this little baby simply refused to die. And very gradually, over the next 3 months, she began to improve. The complications stopped. She was still very premature and had some damage from the treatment, but she began to grow. She began to gain weight. She began to become a real baby. One of the greatest pleasures of my life, one of the greatest privileges of my life, I was on call. I was in the hospital on a Sunday in October of 1977 when she went home at 6 months of age. I will never forget her. She changed my life because she taught me what was possible. And less than a year later, when I was a resident, I was having a very, very difficult moment. For the first time ever, I thought about quitting. And her little spirit came to me and said, no, if I can survive, you can. And she changed my life. And I suggest to you all today that strength is within each and every one who hears my voice. We can transcend. We can heal. We are the children who are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mafo. Thank you. I mean, I understand. I just don't want to cry. I refuse to cry.
Yeah.
I refuse. I'm just tapping the pain of that baby that refused to die.
Yes.
And I think, yes. I'm not going. We said it on the show here yesterday. We are not going to share any tear again. Probably the tear of joy, like the one that we can share now. Yes. The story it should give us a tears for joy. So yes. We are left on our own. We've been said it, whether we are in Brazil, whether we are in Mexico, whether we are in the Panama, whether we are in Asia, in Turkey, in Europe, in the UK, on the continent, in Asia, all these races of the continent, everywhere that they are, we are the origins of these places. Yeah. So, and you always see any place that we are. I spoke to the Queen Mother of Panama this morning, and she told me she is in a deep village in the Colombia, where she's also trying to comfort and heal our people on this trip of these journeys that we're going through. And she said, there is no light, there is no water, there is no internet. She has to move and go into locations in the village to look for internet. And then I said, everywhere that we find ourselves on the planet, we are always in a challenge. Yes. Doesn't matter whether you're living in the neighborhood or in the villages or in the city. Look at the New York, under the bridges, everywhere, whether there's the highest skyscraper or there is just the river. We are all constantly under some kind of subhumanity. For whatever reason, I think it's also, like you said, reminding us of the pain when we look at those legs on those sheep and we ask. I was just looking at it and I saw myself.
Yes.
Sometimes if we don't ourselves, you look at those legs, it is your own. It is not some painting. It is all of our own multiplied. And so we transcended, and we are now the extension of this version that we're here and sharing the experience that we're on those boats or on those boats. Those of us who committed suicide, like the young man in Nigeria who said that for me to go back on the continent, I better die. It's the same thing like us that passed when we refused to go to the islands or to go on the ship, and we committed suicide and died. Most of us jumped in the waters and just committed suicide. So everything that I see from what you're saying, my Queen Mother, is the same. The transition that we went through is definitely, like you say, we're spiritual being in a human experience. So if we give birth, like Professor James Small said, we give birth to ourselves. So we are the extension. And I think because of that trauma that we went through, the beating, the pain, it is when we transit from one stage to another, like we rebirth ourselves again, and then the trauma is just still there. And that's why the lectures of today are so essential, like what you're saying. We have to refuse to die like that baby. We have to refuse to keep on passing this transition to the next generation. At one point, we have to stop the pain. So like we say in our generation now, Mother, we are stopping the pain. That's why we're working so hard, tirelessly, to say our children should not go through that pain. So when we're building stories, legacies, that when they look back at us today, they would see the smiles. They will watch the Pan-African Daily. They will watch Mama Elaine. They will watch all of us and say, this is what our mothers did. We are the extension. We are not backing up on anything. So I want to truly appreciate you and all of us that are watching today. We refuse to die. We are not. We refuse to carry the pain in us and give it to our unborn children. Most of us that are pregnant, and you see, we go through that pregnancy in a depressive situation. We just transported that pain to the baby. Most of us that are in our own zones, we eat, no matter what we are doing at that period of time, the more we are mourning and going by this, we just putting that vibration out there to others. So Mama Helen, you are telling us today, stop. Am I right?
Yes. What I know to be true, Sister Susan, love heals everything. And if we can but find a way to reunite with the love that already exists within us, everything is healed. I know this to be true. That's how our ancestors survived this madness. They still loved each other. Despite what we're told, see, we're told one story about what happened during enslavement, and there's a true story. They fought much more. They were warriors. They fought much more than we ever can imagine. By virtue of the fact that they woke up in the morning was a triumph. Okay, that same for us, that we wake up in the midst of this madness with eyes bright. And when enslavement ended, they went looking for their loved ones. The most precious love story I've ever read is called The Wife of His Youth, and other short stories by Charles Chesnutt. They went looking for each other. Enslavement didn't take that away from them. It made them want to be together even more. This is what they did. We have more challenges now because we forgot, They were very clear. And I want to share and add this one final note, that the baby I talked about, I remembered her name, and I've looked her up, and I'm going to contact her one day. She is alive and well. She's a young lady, and she has a good, healthy life, and she's a writer, and I've kept my eye on her thanks to the internet. But I will contact her because I want her to know one day how much she has impacted the world. Because every time I speak, I share her story. And I know I've shared her story with millions of people. And I'm going to tell her one day what a difference she's made, not only in my life, but in the lives of those who heard it today, as well as others.
We refuse to die.
We refuse.
Even when the whole world give
No,
up on us, the
no,
doctors that give up on her, the parents
no,
that even mourn her when she was alive, but she
no.
refused to die.
She refused to die. A little 2-pound baby with a disease and premature body. Think about what you have. And I said it to my sisters, what's inside of you that you think is a big burden compared to what she had? It's humbling. She humbles me. And she humbled me deeply in the moment I thought I would quit. And that was the only time I have ever considered quitting. And her little spirit said to me, no, no, no. If I can survive, you
Dr.
can
Elaine,
too.
yes, you shared on your first appearance here, you shared another incredible situation with us. I really just want to bring the attention to like our new viewers, or even just to remind us of that particular thing that you said, the message that you gave on the first appearance on the show. You said something about prayers, and because you started by saying, you know, the thing that we should do for one another is just to pray, remember them, send them the vibration that we have, those of us that maybe are stronger than the ones that are weak. I can remember in the first conversation you said this very thing here, that during your practice session or during your experiences as a doctor, you realize, I think you made an allusion of a situation where patients that were preyed upon, you know, got healed,
Yes,
than even the ones
yes,
that were taken, put on medication.
yes. Yes, there was a study, Sister Susan, that was conducted by a very, very open-minded cardiologist, Dr. Randy Bird, in the mid to late 1980s. And he wanted to explore in a clinical setting the power of prayer, which probably was quite, what's the word, threatening and endangering to his career, honestly, because we don't talk about the P word in medicine. Long story short, what he did, he worked in an intensive care unit, in a cardiac unit. And the study divided the patients who were in life-threatening situations from heart attack and other conditions that warranted them being in this intensive care unit. And he divided them into half and match them for their age and their condition. That's what you have to do in the scientific world. And had half of them prayed for, half of the group, the experimental, what we call the experimental group, was prayed for, I can't remember the length of time. Let's just say a few days, because normally you're not in these units a long time. And the other group wasn't prayed for. And what we call it is a double-blind study, meaning the doctors, the nurses, and the patients didn't know that they were in the study or being prayed for. And he looked at the data, he looked at the outcomes of the patients who were prayed for in comparison to those who weren't. Nobody died in the prayed for group. Some did in the unprayed for group. And they have fewer complications and were discharged from that unit faster. That was substantiated in his research. And there have been other studies, many other studies over the years that have looked at the power of prayer in a clinical setting, and it does make a difference. And I'll share this with you, which is quite interesting, is even more profound. A researcher in Israel back in the late 90s, early 2000s decided he wanted to see if prayer made a difference after the fact. So he took medical records of people who had been hospitalized at least 10 years earlier and just gave the names to people who were conducting prayer. They had no idea who they were praying for, or I don't remember all the details, but they prayed for these people after the fact. And he had another group, similar group as the other study that wasn't prayed for, but had similar conditions and similar demographics. And the people who were prayed for after the fact had a better outcome than those who isn't. So this shows there's no, as our ancestors knew and know, there's no difference in time and space in the totality of the eternal moment. So I pray for my ancestors for their experiences of survival after the fact, because I know that helped, because we're all connected and there's no difference in past, present, or future. This is a known African reality, and this study shows the truth of it.
I know it's we do say it like prayer, probably another particularly now that we're conscious, when we actually pray and we are conscious about what we are doing, it's like, you know, sending what do I say, positive spirit, or connecting the spirit with one agenda, one belief, and one. So like we have prayer groups, or the 12 galaxies that we're putting up, you know, to say we have to at a certain time we have to remember one another. So it's also a form of a prayer. Or how would you want to put it in such a way that, you know, because we're coming from another background that people have just really been not trust the systems like the churches, or how all these things, because of also the other opposite of what it is. How do we put that energy in that format of prayers now that we are conscious?
Well, we don't have to use the word prayer. We can call it divine communication. We can call it spiritual communication. We can call it contacting, you know, through unseen ways. And if you will turn the slide back on, I want to share a picture that speaks to the specific issue about what happens when we pray.
If you turn the slides on, please. Okay.
Can you see it now? I have a picture of a slide. See that this is what happens with what we call prayer. It's quite powerful, a powerful image, because on the left is a picture of water from a polluted body of water. I think it was a polluted lake in Japan. And the right is a picture of the water after it had been prayed for. This is the research of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who was a very spiritually oriented scientist in Japan, and he wanted to show the power of thought. So he developed a technique of taking pictures of frozen water and showing the differences in their structure and what happens when thought is applied to it. And I have some other slides I can share in the future, but this is a good, see the difference in how the water looks. The water on the right, which is the polluted water after it was prayed for, shows the order, the beauty, and the symmetry of words of love. And likewise, he had pictures that showed what happens when you curse water, and it looks like the water on the left. So this is the power that we have, just to share, not just the ability we have to share energy, to share our divine essence. When we pray, we're sharing love. That's part of our divine essential nature. And it impacts objects physically because everything responds to love. There's a wonderful film that was produced in the 70s. Stevie Wonder did the music. It's called The Secret Life of Plants. And in it, they talk about studies that showed how plants were affected by love and how they were affected by being cursed at. Everything we do has a resonance and has an energy that not only dwells within us, but dwells within our environment. Not only our local environment, but the totality of the earth environment and beyond. And when we are in harmony, it has a tremendously powerful and healing and beautiful impact.
To me, put that back. It is, I don't know. I can't see the link that you shared in the chat because I want to inform our audience that when on the first time that during the first conversation that we had with Dr. Elaine, she had a process or a program that she had to undergo on the continent or in UK for some time, and that process or that program is over now. African Daily, not just today, but is
I'm losing you. Uh-oh. Sister Susan, your audio's turned off. Yeah, it's turned off for some reason. I see next to your name, your audio's off. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I don't know what happened.
now.
Yes, 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 I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just sharing with the audience that the time you came here. And so we are going to continue on this super healing conversation with Dr. Elaine, uh, Mama Ferguson Maffo, who is actually great. But then we have a link, affiliate link that we're going to share with you in the chat here. And that's what we are struggling to find that link. And you see me, I keep freezing. I don't know for whatever reason,
Do you
but
want me
like
to
we
send it
said,
to,
and
do you want
so
me to send it to you again?
we're going to yes, probably if you have the means to put it in the chat on your side.
Yes, I'll put it. I'm in a private chat. I'll put it back in there. Okay. There you go.
I think
I sent it.
you
I
went,
sent it again. I sent it to you again.
okay. That's good saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might be taking time to put the link because I don't know for whatever reason the internet is so slow either on my side or on your
Yeah.
side and all this breakage. But we are going to put it. We're going to put it here, and yes, it's okay. So what we were saying is we're going to drop the link, her affiliate link for those of you actually all the recommendations that you're asking, whether there's some books or stuff. Yes, Dr. Elaine has a whole program that she's going to be treating with us. So that program, okay, the link is in now. You can see that is my own, our own Pan-African Daily TV affiliate link to her program. So any of you or all of you, as a matter of fact, all of us should click on that link. Clicking on that link, she's going to tell us what happens. But she's written this book, The Super Healing, and we have a lot of courses that we could do private ones. But what she's coming here is just to give us a general overview. But to get into the deeper aspect, to get the knowledge, it's a whole program that we have to enroll to. I already had feedbacks or some contact from Europe saying, can she do the healing all over, or is this just something that she has to do it locally? And that's the power of the digital platform that we have, the Pan-African Media. She can do it everywhere. We also can organize these private seminars, on our conferencing or on Zoom or whatever platforms that we'll be using, but you have to enroll to the program, to get access to this. I remember, Dr. Mama, you said something also here last time, and you said there is no disease or there is no sickness that is incurable. Could you just say that again?
Yes. There is no such thing as an incurable disease, my sister. There is no such thing. Yes, there are incurable people, no question, because of their consciousness or because of their state of health. But anything can be healed. As I said briefly, when we look at the truth of who we are, we have infinite healing potential and capacity. In fact, we were designed, the Creator designed us to experience vibrant health and well being. That is our natural state. Disease means your body is functioning out of ease, dis-ease. And when you function with ease, no matter what you are dealing with physically, you give your body the chance to heal itself. Our bodies are miracles. They are miracles. This paradigm would have us think that we're a machine. No, you are so beyond that. It would have us think that we have software, that our DNA is our software. No. Western scientists is a reductionistic, deterministic paradigm that is devoid and severed from its true spiritual nature and consciousness. So it cannot explain life fully, because it would have us think that we can be defined in reducible terms as DNA, molecules, cells, and atoms, etc. That is a part of us, but that is not the totality. And I'll just give you one funny example that I've talked about recently. Because of all of the focus on genetics in the media, if you know what I'm talking about, there was a maybe 20 years ago, it was during the Clinton administration here in the US, so it was a little bit longer than that, but there was a human genome project to chart the whole DNA, our genetic sequence of humans. It was a major project, and the scientists at the beginning said, well, we'll have hundreds of thousands of genes, and we're much more complex than anything other organism, and this will be our gateway to curing diseases and everything else. When we know that didn't happen. And the great cosmic joke, as has been described in the media, is that there are many plants, like the tomato plant, that has more genes than the humans. We only have about 30,000 genes. Some plants have over 100,000 genes. So clearly, scientists, they don't talk about this, they don't talk about this quandary as to how you explain our complexity as human beings through our DNA. It's not in our DNA, it's in the divine design that the Creator gave us to express, that they can't figure out or find because it doesn't exist physically. It exists on other levels of being. So yes, we are complex. I'm not taking that away, but it's just not in our DNA. It's somewhere else. And what we know now is that our DNA responds to our emotional states. How we feel turns on and off genes. If we feel good, we turn on healthy genes, or genes that have been identified with expressing when we're in a healthy state. And if we're upset, it can turn on those that contribute, because everything within us and our functioning reflects how we feel. That's why our emotions are so important. And that's why, in a very granular sense, why when we are upset, when we are feeling dehumanized, we literally have a spiritual autoimmune, what I call spiritual autoimmune disorder. We have literally turned our physical immune system against us when we reject ourselves, when we assume the lies that have been told to us. The body obliges in terms of how it functions. And that's why we get sick, because we literally have turned on a fire. The inflammation that contributes to the development of most diseases comes from distress, comes from an identity of rejection. That's why we get sick, and that's why we have a choice. That's why when we change our consciousness, our perceptions, it changes our physiology and makes us healthy.
Ay, ay, ay.
That's how powerful we are.
I feel like going back to my village.
Yes.
Yes. And even to emphasize on that, that's why you see the people on the continent that are in the village, like me, the village girls, they grew healthier because the environment, this going out to play, this gathering together, this idea of not being selfish, of just sharing and being in your
Yeah.
natural environment. And you see, until somebody came and just told us that no, you lack something, or you were sick, or you need to get something.
The big
In that
lie.
state, we were not.
The big lie. I have a new saying: defy the lie. We've had been told so many lies about who we are. Because when you know the truth and when you live the truth, you cannot be controlled. Can't be. Your mind can't be controlled. You're free. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Elaine, you said something. I have to come back to that. You talked about disease. I mean, just that alone. I mean, some words, even this word, and that's why we talked about our local languages. Our local languages, there's some word that do not exist in it, like disease. I've been trying to think in my local language, what is disease?
Mm.
It doesn't really add up the way we
Wow.
see it. So even some words that are put in the language in which we are programmed and taught doesn't exist in our local languages, and
Wow.
so doesn't even with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, words are so powerful, not only personally, but when we speak words, and when we speak words with as the emotion that we speak with the words connects us to others who speak the words with the same emotion. So it's never just us speaking. Yes. Yes. And that's why I don't use the word OLD. I don't say that anymore. I quit saying it about 5, 6 years ago because it has so much negative energy to it. I don't say OLD. I say the longer I'm here, I speak of longevity, but OLD in the sense of what they call aging, I don't talk, no, because I won't tap into that energy because I'm telling my body to get OLD and is using the model of others who went before me, who believed in it to inform my body as to how to get OLD. And I'm not going there with that. That's my personal thing. And there have been many studies transformational in terms of my consciousness studies about the power of word and the power of belief. And we know now that aging, that OLD can be reversed when you think younger or get in younger environments. And I noticed with myself before COVID, and I laughed when I realized this in my community, in my family of friends, I always sit with the people in their 20s because I have more to talk about with them and more in common. And I didn't even do it intentionally. I just realized that's where I resonated. And and I love my friends who are my age group, don't get me wrong, but that's what I noticed. And we know, as I said, aging can be reversed. There's a whole world of research looking at how to reverse it with mindset, not with diet and food. Those are important in exercise, but it's the mind. Dr. Mario Martinez, who was a researcher out of Miami and Colombia, South America. He's a neuropsychologist, and he's gone around the world looking at people who live to be 100, looking at how culture plays a role in the longevity process. And what he found is that those who live to be 100 did not buy into the cultural beliefs about getting OLD. For each culture, there's a different paradigm. Japan is different, Africa is different, Asia is different, Americas is different. But whatever those beliefs about who you are supposed to be when you're 60, who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do when you're 70, when you're 80, when you're 90, etc. These people who live to be 100, they live by their own rules and they didn't accept what society told them they were supposed to be, do, or act as. They lived within their truth and it kept them alive. That's how powerful our thoughts and beliefs are. But if you say, I'm getting OLD and I'm going to die when I'm whatever age, you telling your body what you're giving instructions. But when you believe otherwise and you live in a way that keeps you, for lack of a better term, young, but keeps you vibrant and vitalized, whatever your age may be, you will be here longer because you're enjoying life and you're living it. Age is just a number. I mean, really. We have chronological age, meaning our birth age, and we have biological age, which is influenced by many factors, including, and most importantly, how we think and how we live. We don't know how long the human body can live. We don't know. And I have seen stories of mamas and babas in Africa. One was 180 some years old. Yes, documented in Nigeria. Yes, I saw a brother last year on the internet, 137 on his cell phone. Active, healthy. Yes. You don't get OLD at 45. You know, some people do, but you don't have to. I should say it that way. No, it's a state of mind.
Whew. My people, are you listening? Are you feeling this energy here? I just don't know how to say it, but like we are all, we say it all the time here, particularly when we look at the calendar, Dr. Mafo. When we look at the calendar, our calendar, let's even take even the youngest one in Ethiopia is telling us every birthday that the Gregorian calendar told you, you are younger 7 years.
Yes.
You are 7 years. Just that alone, only that first, just that alone. And we keep like everything that is noun on this passage, like you're 45. I mean, just take 7 years back.
Yes.
And that's even just that alone is already a mental reverse of what we're saying. So it is the same thing. What are we talking about today? We're talking about the effect of these negative images, like the issue on Russia and Ukraine, that goes down into our psyche. So how do we reverse that to think positive on images that we see like that? I mean, in a spiritual form, like we reject them, like we know, I don't know. We refuse to be.
I refuse to be impacted. As I said, I pray for peace. I bless images of war that I see. And I know this too shall pass. And I know on some level, not necessarily we see it physically, everything works together for good as the Creator has designed the universe to be. We may not see the good, we may not understand the good, but as our ancestors in Kemet and as our ancestors know across the continent, we emerge. Adversity can be a blessing in disguise. We can emerge from anything as our ancestors already have and become not only survivors, but thrivers because of the divine faculties and the nature within us that gave us the capacity to do this in the first place. We've just been told the lie that we can't do it. We've been told the lie that we're less than. We've been told the lie that what happens to you outside is more important than what happens to you inside. But our ancestors said, know thyself. It wasn't know thy personality, know your true essential nature. That is your wealth. That is your freedom. That's your liberation because it gives you the capacity to transcend anything, like the butterfly can fly over. Like we can be in the eye of the storm at peace and responding appropriately with the wisdom and intelligence and intuition we've been given, rather than feeling that we have no control. We have ultimate control over ourselves. As with the hardiness, they knew they had control. It didn't matter the madness around them. They knew they were going to be okay, and they didn't have heart attacks. That's how we survived. Our ancestors knew better than we who were enslaved that they were connected recently to their spiritual heritage, to their understanding. And maybe they didn't have the words for it, but they knew it better than we know it because it has been We have been so overwhelmed and delusioned in this media that it makes us forget easier, but they knew the truth, and that's why they survived. And when I look at people who came out of enslavement, they were focused. They looked for family. They built institutions. They created communities. And we who have more physical resources have fewer access to our spiritual resources. We're more confused. And we're in greater chaos now than they were, because they knew the truth. And that's why it's so important to let go. I'm not criticizing, so don't take me wrong. I'm just saying, comparatively speaking, we have more resources externally. They have more spiritual resources. And it's time for us to regain our spiritual resources so we can take the resources that we have, that they didn't have, and build and expand upon what they created.
I also think that even the West is understanding the process that they need us. Now, if you look at like the Ukraine and Russia issue, now South Africa or the president of South Africa, or not just even only that, the Ukrainian situation is at a place where they need an African solutions, a mediator. Never in the history of our humanity have we ever seen the West reach out to us and say, we need a solution from you, or come and mediate. We were talking about it yesterday. And so do you think that time is really yes?
Huh? Well, I will say there has always been an awareness of our spiritual connection. That's always been recognized. It's just been attacked and assaulted. One of my professors from college that I talk about, and I honor him because he helped to open my eyes to this reality. As you speak about this request from the West for African wisdom and knowledge and assistance, my professor, Michael Harper, who was a great poet, while we were reading about a novel about enslavement called, I can't even think of the name of it, it'll come back to me, Cain, by Jean Toomer. He talked about the cosmic violation of enslavement. Now, I didn't understand that. He said slavery was not just a human rights violation. He said slavery is a cosmic violation. It took me about 30 years to understand what he meant. And what I believe he meant is that because we are divine beings, an assault on a divine being is a cosmic violation, because enslavement severed us violently from our connection to our Creator. Because you cannot control people who know who they are. They had to impose this pseudo religion, and I'm not putting down, I'm talking about the dogma that you are dehuman, that you are not a human, because that was the key to controlling us, to beating out, to severing in consciousness the connection that our ancestors had established to our divine nature, through our culture, through our practices, through our beliefs. You cannot control a divine being. All you can do is remove them or destroy that consciousness. When you're endowed with the truth, you can't be destroyed. But a person who is stuck in a lie can easily be destroyed because they don't know the truth. That's why the deluge is so important. That's why the constant barrage of exposure is so critical to maintaining this state of victimhood. Because once we let that go, we're good. We have, and what I mean by good is that we have the access to come to find the answers from within us to our solutions, to the needed solutions. And what I have learned, dear sister Mafu, recently is that it's not just about healing the wounds of racism. That's important, but that's just the first step, because once we heal those wounds, we give ourselves space to fully express our purpose, to do the work, to fulfill the mission that we came here to do. That's the real cause of the work that I'm doing. And I didn't realize that until recently, because my initial mission and directive was to help our people heal these wounds. But it's so they fulfill their destiny and their mission as they agreed to do when they came here. That's the real work. We have mission, and we are the consciousness of connection is the light of the world. And some bright person over there realized this, that the wisdom, and don't take me wrong, I don't like to use the word African because it's our human wisdom, our divine spirituality that we express as African people. I love Africa, so don't get me wrong in that regard. But we came understanding our divinity. We identified ourselves as cultures, not as a continent, because we didn't have the need to at the time, and we do now. And I identify with that. But I'm just saying, in the understanding, there is a presence and a spirituality that is so profound, that is so needed, because it is the way out of this madness of disconnection. As I said, love is the healer. African people are loving people. African people haven't. How did we build Kemet? How did we build the monuments across Africa? We were connected to an intelligence that showed us how to do it. That's why current scientists still can't figure out how to build the pyramids. And they want to say it was an engineering issue. No, it's a consciousness issue. And you can.
I wonder.
You can try. Yes. You can try with your consciousness of this paradigm of reductionistic, but you can never get to the spiritual truth to show them how to do it. It's not possible. But I digress. That's what I've come to understand. That's why I get so passionate about it, because you're one of the few platforms where Spirit feels fully engaged to have me speak it with the passion that it gave to me. Because most people, they don't want to hear that. I want to talk about my new whatever. They're so trapped in this consciousness of this reality that it's hard to break out of it. So thank you for letting me express
that. It's the spirit, it's the connection. I mean, when we come to a place where we actually are in our true purpose, so everything just wind up together. We're just entangled here on the Global Family Reunion platform, Pan-African Daily.
I love that.
And that's why. All our professors, our brothers and sisters, our scholars, our experts, you express the same when they are here in this family platform. I don't know. I just feel
beautiful.
It's home.
Yeah.
It is home. And look, you are already, in the past days, we haven't hit 100 that are viewing us. But you see, the spirit, the connectivity, particularly when we're talking about things that, elevate our ancestral, and we honor them, we recognize them, and we call them, and we keep remembering them. And you see, they are there. And so the more entanglement, particularly when we are also dwelling on this frequency of love above everything.
Yes. Love is the source of creation. Yes. That's why everything is born in it, from it, and is it. Mm-hmm.
I see Sister Vanna said, you are just a fresh air, that the fresh breath of air. Like we just breathing something fresh here on this platform. I see a lot of comments that everybody's just like, this is the place to be in this moment in time. Regardless, I think we got the message so clear. This was not a political discourse where we come and say, oh, they do this to our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. You just gave us a solution. How do these things impact us and how we can heal from them? And I think everybody has this very clear that we are not a part of it. Refuse to die like a princess, and she will be coming on this show. Let us see that wonderful, creation, the gift that was left upon us to remind us that we refuse to be a part of a system that they never even asked our opinion. you know, in everything that they do. So we are not a part of it.
Yes, we are not a part of it. We simply refuse to die. And if you give me, oh, no, I won't do that. I'll share it later. But I just thought of an image I have, and it's going to take some time to get it up. But yes, just see the ancestors, see this arc of survival, see this arc of beauty, see this arc of strength, see this arc of determination, see this arc of resilience, see this arc of knowing, see this arc of all encompassing life that they were. See what they did for us to be here. This is our legacy. And this is our truth. We inherited from the divine the capacity, and they expressed it, and we can express it too.
Mm. This is so deep and so profound. There's one thing that you said, and I like to go back to this because it really, we are on this week of healing. We've been just through a lot, and we keep saying it all the time. Even sometimes when we get up, you know, we're still getting up to another level where we're going to be broken down and taken back years again before the wound healed. We struggle and we want to show up ahead again. Some other challenge comes and just break you again so deep. But irrespective of that, we still survive, we still arise, we still thrive, we still, it can never be by our own power. It is can only be because the purpose that our ancestors or we came to do the work, we would climb to that. But what I wanted to touch a little bit to refresh our memory, you said something that the energy that we give out at that particular point in time is the same energy. I mean, and then it brings me to a brother who said this same energy to me. Like, just imagine, like us in our African science and the way we do things, the energy we use to curse, you know, to say something, you know, the energy, the vibration with which maybe you're angry and you say something actually has an impact. So it's the same thing. If we use that same energy just to bless one another, it's going to have the same impact.
Yes, even more so. The greater impact comes when we're connected to the truth. So the prayers of and the blessings of love have far greater impact than those from the consciousness of pain and suffering. That's why the healing occurs, because it transforms it and transcends it. So yes, it makes a difference. And I'll just give you an example that comes to mind. Back in the 1970s and 80s, the Maharishi, the yoga people, the Transcendental Meditation Yoga organization in the US and other parts of the country decided to do experiments of consciousness, and their prayer is meditation. So they came up with a formula believing that a group of meditators could have an impact on a local area. So the formula was the square root of the population, of something like that. So they took that number, and for example, of meditators, and sent them into Washington, D.C., into our nation's capital, to meditate, not to be in contact with the local citizens, but to see if their meditations, which when they're in a state of peace, of high consciousness, would have an impact on that local environment. And they did this in the summertime, and they told the city they were coming, and the city laughed at them. But the crime rate dropped. Economic indicators improved. Within a few months, there was such a dramatic difference that the city became involved in the project. And this type of study, that's called the Maharishi effect, has been conducted all over the world, and they've gone into war zones. And there are other projects of consciousness and intention and prayer that show similar results. When a certain number of people of high consciousness are in an environment or direct their energies toward the environment, it makes a difference. So yes, the power of our connection to the divine and these higher states, when we are more fully connected, makes a tremendous difference. You know how you feel when you feel good when you're around someone who's loving, who's bright and vibrant and joyful. That's not by chance. That's a dynamic engagement with that energy. And it's what the song says, you lift me up. That's true. And that's what we do for each other, especially when we create sacred space for healing, for being together beyond our normal states of being. It's tremendous what happens. And I do feel, quite honestly, during this time, something is shifting for the better. The earth is right. The earth is unfolding in a new way. And there's healing going on, and we're just too diverted to see it. But I feel it and I sense it because I live in nature. So I see the colors are more vibrant. The plants are more vibrant. Something's going on that we're being guided to focus on other things so we don't see and behold what's right before our eyes.
Oh, that's just so like, this is the kind of conversations we can stay here and stay here, but we know that our time and your time is so precious and we cannot unfold all these things. Like, I want to remind all of you that we just dropped the link, the affiliate link of the Pan-African Daily TV from Dr. Elaine into the chat. And please do click on that link, you know, to get more information. But we are going to have Dr. Elaine again in the next series. Like I proposed, I don't know if you had checked your calendar, Thursday, the 7th of April.
I can do it. I can do it.
Fine, good. Yes, Rona says she's so sweet. You are really so sweet. And I like that formula that you say, hey, stay young by just thinking young. I want to just cut it like that. Stay young. Please, our kings and our sisters, we're not going to get old. We want to see the Africa that we're building. Please, so don't even get into that aspect of, you know, I'm old. We have to reverse this thinking. We want to stay young and beautiful and sweet and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. 130 something, and remarry and remarry and remarry and remarry, whatever.
Oh my goodness.
So, it is so wonderful being here with you, our queen sister. I mean, and then one other thing, I want to first of all also thank you, because when I asked, is it possible that you can join us on the senior executive team? And you said yes. So you said anything. I'm just here to serve. That's how Dr. Elaine is. But all of you that are watching Dr. Elaine, do you really know who he is? I mean, she's not somebody that would tell you, but Dr. Elaine is one of the best holistic professional doctor that has studied in the best medical universities, worked in the medical centers out there. So when we are talking about, when she's talking about spirituality and healing, she knows what she's talking about. When a doctor like this that has been in all kind of cardiac, cancerous, all sorts of dimensions of the highest level of clinical doctors and conservative medicine, come here to give you another part and say prayers and say spirituality, our love for one another is the biggest healer than any other thing that we want to put ourselves on. Do you want to disagree? It is not her. It is her ancestors that put her here to continue to tell you each time, please don't worry. We do understand. We are seeing you. We feel that pain. We feel the cry. But don't ever be a part of it, because we have you. 1 million, 4 million, 10 million. Like she said, I am one, but I come with 10,000. So you can imagine how much we multiply that. So what is your problem not to accept the healing? What is it that is stopping you not to think something that is beneficial to you, but to disagree with your mind? And we say no today. We refuse that energy that keeps blocking us not to accept the things that our ancestors are sending the divine, like Dr. Elaine, like all our prophets that are coming here in one way or the other, one language or the other, one topic or the other. They are only sent to heal us. So, what is the difference when they say love and unite yourself and be together with one another? That is the solution that you've been looking for. So, what stops you? Dr. Elaine, what stops us?
What stops us is we don't feel worthy. What stops us is we believe the lie. What stops us is we don't feel connected to the truth, and we think that we're an exception, that I'm different. Yeah, well, it sounds good, but I'm a little different. No, you're unique. But everything that I said is true. We always have a choice. The world has taught us how to react as victims. Even in the midst of our victimhood, we have the ability to choose a thought. As I said at the beginning, as Brother Biko said, our minds have been the greatest weapons. We can allow our mind to be the greatest healer, because that's where our freedom lies. And that's where the power lies. We always have a choice. And our choices give us a different perception and a different understanding. If you tell your body you're a victim, you'll be a victim. But if you tell your body there's another way, I want to find it, I deserve better, I want some relief, I want some freedom, it will help you receive it. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to us all. I was tired of feeling bad about being a Black woman, and being treated and facing all this poison. And my ancestors said no. The situation didn't change, I changed. The racist was still there, but he didn't impact me anymore. It's like a fly. I mean, seriously. No longer made me feel distressed about how people thought about me, about what they could do to me. It changed everything. It changed my life. And that's why I'm here today. I stand on the shoulders of giants, as we do all. And the giants set me free as representatives of the divine. So you can stand on the shoulder of giants and feel like a victim, but it's not the truth. And you deserve the freedom that you were intended to express when you arrived. That's the truth. Because each one of us is precious. Each one of us is unique. And each one of us has a particular mission that the divine sent you here to fulfill, that the earth and your brothers and sisters need for you to fulfill in this moment. So this earth and this planet and this human family and African people are recalibrated into the space and place they were intended to be. That's what I know to be true.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for such a wonderful blessing. Thank you for this. I mean, if we were in the kind of a circle to say, I don't know how to even say it, but you've just blessed us. You've just impacted us. And I know all of you that are watching are going to share this video, are going to cut it into pieces how you want it, and just pick the part that are going to watch over it over and over and over until your minds begin to believe it. And that's why we keep doing some rebroadcasting and we keep repeating some shows. It's not just because we are lazy to come on the show with live conversations every day. No, it is because they are some lectures that we have to go through day after day. Remember, we've been programmed to learn something else and we have to deprogram. And it takes the same recycling back to Sankofa. Take the egg and move ahead. So we have to listen to these lectures. And we are really going to rebroadcast this again during the weekend. Please, if you missed it today, just make sure you don't miss it again. And even if you watch it, download even the audios, right? And you can listen to it. That's the radio part of it. Whether you're working or you're doing something or you're just cleaning, let it empower you. And you keep asking yourself, why is this mind not accepting this? And she just said it, because we don't feel worthy. What is it that you don't feel worthy? Ask yourself all this question. Who is standing in that? No, it is the mind in me. Nobody Dr. Elaine, can you just conclude with this one last question? What is it that always makes us think, oh, we have the enemy outside, or we have, and I always think, no, the enemy is within. If I deal with the hate in me, then I just already overcome. Rather than always seeing somebody else and putting that blame on it, let me see the enemy that is stopping me from actually exercising the love and share it abundantly, endlessly, the abundance of the mind. So can you just round up with that? Like, there's no enemy outside of us. It is within us.
Yes, yes, thank you. Before I answer that question, I just want to thank you for inviting me. I'm always so deeply honored and moved to be here, honestly. I will also share with you briefly that many years ago I was very sick. I was almost dying when I was in my 20s. And this is coming to me as you were speaking, and it speaks and it addresses the notion of fulfilling mission. But I was leaving. I was dying, and I was heading to the operating room. And I said to God, if you let me come back, I will fulfill my mission. And I know in my heart at this moment, I'm fulfilling my mission as we speak. And when I do this work, and I'm so grateful that I was allowed the opportunity to do this and to meet you. I'm so grateful to Brother Philippe for connecting us. I'm deeply indebted to him for him opening this doorway and sharing me with Brother Andrew as well, because this is the most meaningful thing I do in my life. It gives me purpose. So to answer your question, what is it that about the enemy? Well, we live in a dualistic world. We're told this or that. Our consciousness from Africa, the original human consciousness, is a unitive consciousness that is both and. So we don't have to. So yes, we have had external experiences from those who could be called and characterized as enemies. Brother Akia Ayik Akwi Ama calls them the destroyers, and they have been. But as my dear sister says, the greatest enemy lies within. When we conquer that part of us that rejects us, we're good. We're in our place of peace. And no weapon formed against us externally shall prosper, because the weapon has no place to enter. And that is, again, aligning us with our divine essential nature and essence. It is an indestructible force. And while the body can be removed, no question, with weapons, the soul persists and remains. We cannot be destroyed. So let go of any other notion that takes you away from this truth. You are not a victim. You are a victor by virtue of your existence here, and that you're hearing what I have to say. We are all victors. We've just been convinced that we're victims, and we're not. We're still here to dwell in our victory. I'll put it like that. To more fully manifest and express the love that we are, the intelligence, the truth, the vitality, the vibrance, the creativity that we are. We are here. And as long as I said this on my program on super healing, as long as we're on this side of the grass, we have an opportunity. There's hope. That's my truth. So thank you, dear sister.
Blessings.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Blessings.
And I look forward to our unfolding healing journey together and with your family, with my beautiful global family. I do.
All of them are so looking forward. We cannot just wait for you to water our lives again, so we can drink of your experience, share this message with you, and bless one another. Thank you so very much, our great Mafo, Queen Warrior. Thank you. We love you so, so much. Thank you for the dress code and everything that is just happening here. It's just the beauty of who we are. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ashe.
Ashe.
So good night. Yes. Good night to our queen. And yes, we keep in touch and we'll be sharing this link and we'll meet face to face anytime very soon.
Yes, we
Thank you so
will.
much. Blessing.
Thank you. Blessing.
Blessings. Yes. Okay, to me.
Oh,
Oh, how can I say this? What should I say? Is there anything again that you even think that we can talk about? I don't just see anything that is shareable. We are so full, so full of this conversation. The only thing I want to remind you is that we have activated our subscribers campaign 21. Please, we sent a text in it there to 10 10 10. So please click our YouTube link and just share to 10 people and ask them to share to 10 and ask them to share to 10. What is the process of this subscription? Is just to click the button that is red, written subscription, and then you click the bell that is just near to it, the gong. Now, why is this so very important that we are activating this process? Because we have seen the blessings, how fulfilled we are impacted, and we don't want to leave anyone behind. We have begin a new journey of not being selfish and ego to ourselves. We have said that we want to unite again in this global family from where we were torn apart. So I cannot be a part of the process alone. I want to take my brothers, my sisters, my community, and everyone to be a part of this healing journey. So we don't want to be selfish. We want to share the link and invite our people. I mean, as a matter of fact, all of us should just be doing that. Whether you are at your job places, whether you are in a community meeting, whether you're going for a party, whether you're going for a birthday, please just open your phones and just ask your brother and sister in the community to just click in front of you where you are. If you're going to a party where everybody is there, just take upon that mission to say, I want my brothers and sisters on the board. It is not just like we're saying when we get a million subscribers, then we are just like the most powerful watch. No, it is a journey of taking one another along. We have been broken for so long. We have been disconnected. Just imagine the joy that we are reuniting. Do you want to leave your brother or your sister behind? Even if you're working in the markets on the road and you see a black brother and a sister or a mother or an elder or a child, ask them, do you know about the Pan-African Daily TV? Have you ever subscribed? Have you ever heard something like that? I spend, apart from the time that I sit with you here, 24 hours just sharing the link and connecting people. It's not because I want them to be seeing me here all the time. All the people that we're building would come here and be sharing these stories with us. But we need to build, we need to connect. So it's not only when we're going to go to conferences that we're going to connect with one another. You need to be in the boat of recruiting, in the unity business, like I said. Let's call it business. Our business now that we drink our water and mine our African business is just our business of unity. We want to unite by hook, by force, by what? We want to come against all the negative forces that have been stopping our unity. We want to break those challenges, those principalities, let me use the church language, of darkness and forces that have been working against us. They take religion and put against us. And like, oh, you see, this one is a Muslim, this one is a Christian, this one is a this, and they put that, they divide us. No, we're going to break those barriers. They take education, they put amongst us. Oh no, this one is highly educated, this one is primitive, this one is a doctor, this one is not, this one is a professor with a PhD, and so this targets group. No, we are not that. They take everything, they take the rich, they put in front of us. Oh, you know, this one is a big one. He cannot watch Pan-African Daily. What am I going to sit there and be talking with Dr. Susan Tata, a village girl, you know, from Africa? What with her broken English? You know, what's she going to come and be telling me here? After all, I'm a Brit. I know how to speak English. I'm a French. I know how to speak high French. No, those are all barriers. And then they take poverty and even put between us. And some of you like, oh, I don't qualify to be on this platform. I mean, the kind of way that they're speaking, it's not just my level. And I see the way people are just shining on camera and poor me. How can I even show my face here? No. All these things have hit us. They have put us apart. We have to overcome these barriers. We have to take one another along. So please make sure you have the link of the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube channel. Why am I insisting on that? You that are watching us from the Facebook platforms, we have more than 1 million followers on our Facebook page. But when we come live, look at how many is watching us. This has to stop. You have to take the link and share it to one another. Tell them the family meeting takes place at this time. Okay? So please do it. Not for me. Do it for yourself. Do it for your ancestors who fought for us to stay united and who are still doing it. And just remember, nobody is watching us. Only the Most High and them are watching us. Nobody is here to prove whether you subscribed or not. Nobody is here to control whether you did your work or not. But on that day, you would just see how the blessings come. If your blessings are little, it's because you are an enemy of our unity. If your blessings keep increasing, you heal faster and you can thrive and you can survive in your businesses. And you can be joyful just being who you are. It means you are doing the mission work that we are doing. So I'm just giving you a little bit of the tip. Go on and subscribe and make donations to us because we're working to impact us. We are working day and night. We are like missionaries that are put on the mission. If we can pay other things for other people and even pay some lie and some schools to go and deprogram ourselves to even keep us disunited, what about a platform that we're all sacrificing and doing our stuff free of charge to get us united? Our business on the Pan-African Daily TV is to unite us. That is our African business, that we drink our water and just mind it. So make sure you're going to invite people, invite everyone in your churches. Let it not be a barrier. Don't say, oh no, on Dr. Susan's status platform, we're only talking about traditional things. We're only here, to share about this. No, I have told you all the barriers. Anything that just works against us is an enemy to us. So you see some people, oh no, my target audience is this. Oh no, my business class is this. Oh no, I don't. All those things are programs that were made to disunite us. And we're going to overcome those barriers. In as much as you see one that look like you and me and any other, just share the link with them. Don't be selfish. We all want to progress. Look at the healing that we just heard here. Just only hearing that if you think differently, you will stay young. How many of you people are going and doing facelifting surgery? We keep drinking. They tell us keto and they tell us eat this. They tell us drink this so that you can stay younger and you can stay happier. Or they tell us all sort of things and we keep doing it. How much monies do we go to doctors just to make us so that we don't die? How much money do we put there? And then you find a prophetess, an empress, Her Majesty, a queen that has been sent from the Most High, the ancestors of Africa, come here to give you for free. And you are not able just to share a link to click and invite your brothers and sisters. It is going to come back to you. I can only tell you from my bottom of my heart. You see me, I'm the richest woman on this continent and this planet, and I will be still the richest because I have you. And so I want all of you to be as rich as myself. And the secret to richness is just getting us, loving us, connecting to us. Okay? The little we have, we share with one another. The bread we have, we share with one another. We are not going to die, we will survive. And the only thing that keeps us to survive is the love and the unity among us. So I want to thank you. I want to appreciate you. And I want to know that we're going to be doing the same thing. As I said, we're going to hit us. We're going to connect all of us on this planet. And we're going to stay young to see this mission happen. You just learn it today. Okay? Let me not see you go to any place again. Oh, I want to slim fat. I want to do this. Oh, I want to put a facelift. Oh, I want to, because, hey, you know, my body is this. We are just so beautiful the way we are. Whether anyhow that you want it, we are just so beautiful the way we are. Can you imagine? And then we're looking for what kind of beauty when your ancestors gave everything to you. And when you're passing, people are looking at you like, oh my God, look at this black queen. Look at this black king. Look at this princess. Look at this prince. And you are still doubting. Come on. Just do the right thing. The blessings of the Most High will come to you, of our ancestors. Unity, love, and peace. Unity, love, and peace. So I want to thank you. Tomorrow, let me tell you who is going to come. And I can guarantee you this time, nothing will work against that. King Maponga Joshua. So we figure out challenges that he was having. The whole morning, the whole this day, we were trying all sort of tricks and, to get him here. Because that's the challenge that we are saying we're not going to back up on anybody that doesn't have access to the Pan-African Daily. We will do everything that he has that access, and that's the overcoming. He's going to be live with us tomorrow, and I can guarantee that process. I can guarantee it because we figure out what happens when they stop us from uniting. Our ancestors come and they rebrand and give us another trick. And so we're going to connect one another. Okay? So tomorrow, he's going to be here tomorrow. But he's going to talk about the political aspect and impact of what this whole Russia-Ukraine thing and all the conflicts are, the blocks that are defining us. He's going to take it from, like I said, now Africa has been invited as a mediator. And I told you yesterday, solutions would only come from you, my kings, my queens, my husbands. They will only come from you, my sister queens. Nobody. Now the world is searching for that solutions. Make yourself available. Okay? Thank you very much. We see us tomorrow. Tumi Tata, who has been on the technique today, is saying, Mama, I have to go to work in the morning. Yes. So we see ourselves, and blessings to all of you. Keep loving one another. Make sure you're coming with a global family and let them subscribe, and we begin to enjoy our process of divinity given to us by our ancestors, and nobody can stop that. Good night to all of you. I do love you. You know that. You're all my husbands. You're all my sisters. You're all my kings. You're all my wives. You're all my daughter-in-laws. You're all my mother-in-laws, the father-in-laws, and everything. Okay? Have you ever seen a woman with all the husbands in the world, with all the sisters, with all the kings and sons? It's me, no other person. Okay? So yes, good night to all of you. We see ourselves tomorrow, same time. Bye-bye. Drink water, mind your African.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.